What if I told you that the food on your plate today could be quietly setting you up for a heart attack tomorrow, and you wouldn't even notice it happening? What if one of these foods was something you thought was healthy? Or worse, something you eat every single day without the slightest concern? And what if I said that food number 8, the one that most people would never suspect, might be doing the most silent damage of all? If you're serious about protecting your heart, your energy, and even your ability to perform at your best, especially as a man, then stick with me. This is one video you need to see from start to finish. If you care about your heart, your strength, your future, and yes, your longevity, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's start with a truth that's easy to ignore because it doesn't feel urgent. Clogged arteries don't happen overnight. They don't scream for your attention. There's no flashing warning sign the first time a food begins to do damage. In fact, that's exactly what makes the danger so real. It's slow, it's invisible, and by the time you feel something's wrong, the damage is often well underway. But you don't have to wait until you're in a hospital gown, hooked up to machines, wondering how you got there. You can take control now by understanding the silent enemies hiding in your kitchen. Imagine this. Every time you sit down to eat, your body starts a delicate biochemical dance. Hormones rise and fall. Inflammation either flares up or calms down. Blood vessels either stay flexible and smooth, or they start collecting debris. Most of us never think about this when we're choosing what to eat. But here's the kicker. The foods that clog your arteries don't just do it by being fatty or unhealthy. That's an outdated idea. They do it by triggering tiny, constant injuries to the lining of your arteries. And when that lining, called the endothelium, gets irritated, your body tries to repair it over and over again until the repairs turn into plaque. You might be thinking, okay, so what are these foods? And more importantly, how do I know if I've already been eating them too often? Great questions. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover. But to really understand the damage, we have to go a little deeper into the science. Don't worry, nothing complicated, just enough to finally connect the dots. Your arteries aren't just pipes, they're living tissue. They respond to hormones, stress, and the nutrients, or lack of nutrients, you give them. When you eat foods high in refined sugars, for example, it spikes your insulin. That alone creates a cascade of reactions that promote fat storage, suppress your ability to burn fat, and lead to higher triglycerides. Over time, that's a recipe for damage, but it doesn't stop there. Some foods actually inflame your body at the cellular level. They trigger oxidative stress, a process where unstable molecules called free radicals begin to damage healthy tissue. Think of it like tiny sparks, setting fire to the inside of your blood vessels. If your body has the tools to put the fire out, antioxidants, strong immune support, you recover. But if you keep feeding it foods that stoke the flames, the damage compounds. And one of the worst offenders? Industrial seed oils. That's right, those cheap, flavorless oils you find in almost everything. Soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil. They might not taste like anything, but they're packed with omega-6 fatty acids that, when consumed in excess, throw your body into a state of chronic inflammation. The worst part? These oils are in nearly every packaged snack, dressing, and fried food you can think of. They sneak into your meals without you even realizing it. Now, let me ask you this. When's the last time you looked at the label on your favorite chips or your go-to salad dressing? Do you know if it has hydrogenated oils or added sugars? What about hidden trans fats? Because even though the FDA technically banned trans fats, manufacturers found a loophole. If it's less than half a gram per serving, they can say 0 on the label. But if you eat more than one serving, you're still getting it. That's how easy it is to eat something every day that quietly corrodes your health. Now, here's where things get even more interesting and dangerous. You might think it's the foods that taste obviously unhealthy that are the problem. Fast food, processed meats, sugary snacks, and yes, they are. But what about the ones that seem innocent? The ones that health magazines sometimes even recommend? That's where curiosity trigger number 8 comes in. A food so common, so culturally accepted that you may have eaten it this week thinking it was a smart choice. It's time we pull back the curtain on what's really happening beneath the surface. But before we get there, let's clear something up. Your body is designed to heal. That's the good news. Every time you make a better choice, your blood vessels respond. The inflammation starts to settle. The plaque becomes more stable. Your blood flow improves. That's not hype. That's basic physiology, backed by real science. For example, when you replace highly processed grains with whole, unrefined sources, like vegetables, seeds, or legumes, you don't just lower your blood sugar spikes, you reduce the demand on insulin, cut down on triglyceride production, and increase fiber, which binds to excess cholesterol in the digestive tract and helps move it out. That's real, measurable benefit. And speaking of cholesterol, let's talk about one of the biggest myths that still confuses millions. Eating cholesterol doesn't necessarily raise your blood cholesterol. What matters more is what causes inflammation and damage to your arteries. That's what triggers your liver to produce more cholesterol in the first place, as a bandage for the injury. That's why sugar, processed carbs, and seed oils are far worse than an egg yolk or a piece of cheese. Still with me? Good. Because now we're getting to the core of how food impacts not just your arteries, but your entire identity as a man. If you're dealing with low energy, decreased libido, weight gain around the belly, or even mood swings, there's a strong chance your hormones are off. And guess what drives that imbalance? Insulin resistance and chronic inflammation, the same forces that clog your arteries. Think of your body as a high-performance machine. Feed it the wrong fuel and it sputters. Feed it the right fuel and it thrives. And the right fuel isn't just about eating clean. It's about avoiding the silent saboteurs, the foods that sneak in through habits, routines, and even health advice that's outdated or flat out wrong. Now back to curiosity food number 8. It's a food that almost always gets a pass. It's seen as light, refreshing, and harmless, sometimes even included in healthy meal plans. And yet, it can spike your blood sugar worse than a candy bar. That's right. The glycemic index of this food is shockingly high, and because of its texture and how quickly it's absorbed, it sends your insulin on a roller coaster. It's white rice. Surprised? You're not alone. Most people think of white rice as a safe staple. But here's the truth. It's stripped of fiber, stripped of nutrients, and absorbed so quickly that your body reacts just like it would to pure sugar. 1 cup can have a higher glycemic index than ice cream. And when paired with sweet sauces or fried protein, as is often the case, it creates the perfect storm for artery damage. But it's not just about avoiding rice. It's about understanding how food affects your entire system, your blood flow, your hormone balance, your ability to recover from workouts, even your focus and drive. When your arteries are healthy, your body performs better in every area. You think more clearly. You last longer. In workouts, in bed, in life. So let's take a quick pulse check. Have you ever had a meal that left you feeling bloated, tired, or foggy afterward? That's not normal. That's your body telling you something's off. And the more we ignore these signs, the more we normalize dysfunction. But when you listen and start making smarter choices, you can literally feel the shift. More energy, better sleep, a stronger immune system, and a heart that's working with you, not against you. It's always like this. At first, it seems silly. A little pain, a change in your tests, insomnia that comes and goes, but suddenly it becomes routine. And when you finally seek help, it's already harder. But what if you could act before it gets to that point? A natural, effective, and safe solution is within your reach, and it has already helped thousands of people who were in your shoes. The difference? They decided to act. Do the same now. See the pinned comment before this opportunity disappears. Let's pick up right where we left off, because what you're about to learn next could genuinely shift the way you eat for the rest of your life. You now know that white rice, despite its reputation for being light and harmless, can trigger a powerful blood sugar response that sets the stage for inflammation, weight gain, and arterial damage. But what about the foods that hide behind even healthier masks? The ones that are glorified by marketing, embraced by diet culture, and even recommended by health professionals. This is where the real danger lies, because it's hard to protect yourself from something you believe is helping you. One of those seemingly innocent foods is low-fat flavored yogurt. Now, you've probably heard that yogurt is good for your gut, full of probiotics, and helpful for digestion. And that's true, if it's plain, unsweetened, and high in fat. But that's not the kind most people eat. What ends up in most grocery carts is the flavored kind. and that's a completely different product. Take a look at the label next time. Many of these little containers pack over 20 grams of sugar, sometimes more than a can of soda. That sugar doesn't just feed your taste buds, it fuels the cycle of insulin spikes and fat storage. And because it's in a health food disguise, people eat it daily without question. Here's what's even more disturbing. When you remove the fat from dairy products, you remove the very thing that slows digestion and supports hormone balance. Fat helps you feel full. It keeps your energy steady. Without it, the sugar in that yogurt hits your bloodstream even faster. It's a metabolic ambush. And when your arteries are exposed to those sugar spikes day after day, they begin to stiffen. The endothelium, the sensitive inner lining, gets damaged. And over time, cholesterol starts to collect at the sites of injury, not because cholesterol is the enemy, but because it's your body's way of trying to patch the wound. And that leads us to another problem hiding in plain sight: breakfast cereals. Even the ones with heart-healthy labels or that boast about whole grains. The truth is, most cereals, even the ones that seem healthy, are ultra-processed. They've been ground down, reshaped, sweetened, and fortified in a way that strips them of fiber and ramps up their ability to spike blood sugar. Think about the average breakfast. Cereal, low-fat milk, maybe a piece of fruit, or a glass of juice. That's a sugar bomb. And while it may feel light and energizing in the moment, you'll likely crash mid-morning, hungry again, reaching for more fuel. That cycle alone can be a huge contributor to insulin resistance. Let me ask you this. Have you ever experienced that mid-morning crash where you feel foggy, unfocused, or a little irritable? That's not normal. That's the result of your body's blood sugar and insulin roller coaster. And it almost always starts with breakfast. And once this becomes a daily habit, the damage builds slowly, quietly, over years, until one day it shows up as high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction, or even a heart attack. This isn't fear-mongering, it's physiology, and it's entirely preventable. Now let's talk about margarine. Yes, margarine, the so-called healthy alternative to butter that's been pushed on us for decades. What's wrong with it? In a word, oxidation. Margarine is made from vegetable oils that are chemically altered through a process called hydrogenation. This creates trans fats, some of the most damaging compounds you can put in your body. Even with tighter regulations now, margarine and many processed spreads still contain oxidized fats that promote inflammation. These oils are unstable. They're heated, refined, and stripped of any protective compounds they might have once had. When they get into your bloodstream, they interact with LDL cholesterol, turning it into the dangerous, sticky form that clings to arterial walls. Think about that for a second. Something you might spread on toast every day could be oxidizing your LDL cholesterol, and that's the form that truly contributes to plaque buildup and narrowing of the arteries. When we talk about cardiovascular risk, that's the kind of LDL that matters most. Not just your cholesterol number, but how inflamed, damaged, and oxidized your blood lipids have become. And what drives that oxidation? These industrial fats. These fake foods. Now, let's bring this closer to what you feel. Because clogged arteries don't just affect your heart, they reduce blood flow everywhere. That means slower recovery from workouts. That means colder hands and feet. That means trouble in the bedroom. Yes, erectile dysfunction is often one of the first signs of cardiovascular disease in men. And while it's easy to blame stress or aging, the truth is that poor blood flow usually comes first. If your arteries are clogged, if your endothelium is damaged, if nitric oxide, the compound that helps vessels relax, is suppressed by poor diet, then it's not just your heart that's at risk. Your entire body suffers. So what about processed meats? Another major contributor to this slow, steady decline in vascular health. Things like hot dogs, sausages, bacon, and deli meats might seem convenient. Some even try to eat them as part of a low-carb approach. But here's the issue. They're packed with nitrates, preservatives, and in many cases, seed oils. These compounds have been linked in multiple studies to higher rates of cardiovascular disease, not because of the meat itself, but because of how it's been altered. The more processed it is, the more inflammatory it becomes. And inflammation, again, is the real culprit behind most modern chronic diseases. You've probably noticed a pattern by now. It's not just one food that clogs arteries. It's the constant exposure to a combination of blood sugar spikes, inflammatory oils, and chemicals your body wasn't designed to process. When those things become the foundation of your diet, the body gets overwhelmed. But here's the best part. You can reverse this. Arterial health can improve. Your blood vessels can become more elastic. Your blood flow can return to normal. Your risk of heart attack and stroke can drop significantly, all by changing what you eat, starting today. But don't worry, it's not about giving up everything you love. It's about upgrading your choices, replacing the toxic with the nourishing, swapping out the low-fat flavored yogurt for full-fat, unsweetened Greek yogurt, replacing sugary breakfast cereals with eggs, avocado, or a handful of nuts, saying no to margarine and yes to real butter, or even better, olive oil, choosing unprocessed meats or plant-based proteins over deli slices and hot dogs, and gradually cutting out the seed oils that lurk in fried foods, packaged snacks, and salad dressings. It's not about being perfect. It's about knowing what's hurting you and making better choices as often as you can. Your arteries don't care about cheat days. They care about consistency. The more good you do, the more you give your body a chance to heal. Let's wrap this up with a quick reminder. Your body is not fragile. It's resilient, but it responds to what you feed it. Every meal is either a step toward health or a step toward disease. And now that you know which foods are silently damaging your arteries, you have a choice. You can keep eating them, pretending it doesn't matter. Or you can take charge, start small, and reclaim your energy, your strength, and your long-term vitality. And if you're feeling fired up right now, good. That means you're ready to take the first step, ready to break free from the foods that are holding you back and start building a stronger, healthier version of yourself. Want more eye-opening health truths and real strategies you can apply today? Watch the next video on screen now. It might be the most important one yet for your future.